When my grandson passed, my long-lost daughter returned. But what happened next haunts me. The day my grandson Jonah passed was draped in a fog thicker than the deepest grief. It was strange, almost surreal. The phone call came, and my heart dropped. I remember the hollow ring, echoing in the loneliness of my living room. Those words hit like a punch, "He's gone." At that moment, the world warped. I felt a chill creep into my bones, freezing me on the spot. But never in my wildest dreams did I expect her, my daughter, Sarah, the one I lost all those years ago, to walk through my door. She arrived like a specter from a forgotten past. The door creaked open, and there she stood, hair cascading over her shoulders like flowing shadows, eyes wide and haunted. I hadn't seen Sarah in over a decade. The last I heard, she was lost to a life that spiraled out of control, leaving only whispers of her existence behind. My breath caught in my throat. It was like staring into a mirror reflecting a time I thought I'd never relive. How could she show up now, in this moment? The air crackled with tension. She'd always been a mystery, a riddle wrapped in secrets. My heart raced. Had she come to grieve with me? Or was there something darker, something twisted at play? I could see the sadness etched into her features, but there was also a hint of something else. Fear? Regret? It weighed heavy between us. "Mom, I need to talk to you," she said, her voice a fragile whisper. Just as she stepped closer, the lights flickered, casting eerie shadows over her face. Was it just a power glitch, or was something grim lurking beneath the surface? My pulse thundered in my ears. I glanced out the window, where the storm raged outside, lightning slicing through the sky like a blade. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as I steeled myself for whatever shocking truth she was about to reveal, the phone buzzed violently on the table. A message. I glanced down, and my stomach churned. The words on the screen tore at my heart. "I know what happened to Jonah." "Mom, this isn't just about Jonah," Sarah said, her eyes glistening with urgency. I caught a shiver running down my spine. What could that possibly mean? What had she been mixed up in? I could almost feel the weight of centuries-old ghosts creeping into the room with us, their presence palpable and suffocating. "Why now?" I murmured, confusion flooding me. Sarah took a deep breath, her hands trembling. "Because there's something you don't know, something that could change everything." And just like that, the room started to swirl. The sky rumbled outside, reflecting the tempest of emotions within me, and whispers filled the space where silence had once been. What had she unearthed? What consequences were lurking in the shadows of our past? Those questions loomed as thick as the storm clouds outside, and I was left hanging at the precipice, desperate for answers in a world that felt more twisted and uncertain with every ticking second. How could an ordinary evening shatter into chaos? And what had Sarah brought back with her from the unknown? The air crackled with tension, suffocating and electric. My heart pounded as Sarah stood before me, a ghost of my past stirring up decades of sorrow. The storm outside howled like an angry spirit, matching my rising anxiety. I glanced back at the phone, the message still glowing in treacherous blue light. "I know what happened to Jonah." "What do you mean?" I demanded, the edge of panic creeping into my voice. I felt like a soldier charged into battle, uncertain of the bullets that might fly. Sarah's gaze flitted toward the window, almost as if she were searching for something in the storm beyond. I can't explain it here. We need to get away from here." Her voice trembled, her urgency palpable. "Why now? Why at all?" I rasped. I wanted to snatch her back into the warmth of forgotten childhood hugs, but the years had stretched like the distance between us, an unbridgeable chasm. "Because they're coming." The admission hung in the air, its weight as solid as the storm that raged outside. And they know about Jonah. My blood ran cold. It felt like the world had been sucked away into a dark void. Who is they? The question tore its way from my throat, demanding answers but unsure if I wanted the truth. People, powerful people. Mom, you don't understand. I'm not the same Sarah you remember. I've seen things, terrible things. Jonah was caught in the middle, and now I've seen their shadows. They're real, and they're hunting. The room spun as her words tangled with the cacophony of thunder rattling the windows. A chill swept through me, chilling the air and my resolve. So what do we do? I asked, my voice dropping to a whisper. I already knew that I wanted to believe her, needed to believe the girl I once knew was here, warning me. Follow me, Sarah breathed, taking my hand. The warmth of her touch was overshadowed by the cold dread wrapping around us like thick fog. She turned toward the storm, her eyes wild with fear. I hesitated, torn between the familiar longing for the daughter I lost so long ago and the surreal fear that churned within me. But was there really no choice? We were already ensnared by fate. Together, we stepped toward the darkened hallway. Each creak of the floorboards beneath us echoed like a sinister heartbeat, reminding me of the truth that lingered just out of reach. As we descended into the depths of my home, I felt shadows swallow us whole. Mom, listen, Sarah said, urgency sharp in her voice. What I'm about to tell you could destroy everything you thought you knew. I could see her struggling with the words, the weight of them dragging heavy in her throat. My mind raced with possibilities, the flashes of Jonah's smile haunting me. I'll take my chances, Sarah. Just tell me. She pressed her palm to a wall, as if seeking strength from the very structure. Jonah's death wasn't an accident. It was a message. Her eyes darted, sensing movement where there was none. The storm roared outside, and somewhere within it, I felt the approaching dread. Jonah knew something, and they wanted to silence him. There are secrets behind it all, secrets I've been digging into. My breath hitched. What secrets? Before she answered, a shrill sound sliced through the air. The phone buzzed again. We froze, and I turned back to it, a flicker of panic coursing through my veins. Another message? With shaky hands, I reached for the device. But just as I grasped it, the lights went out, plunging us into darkness. The storm continued to rage, but now an ominous quiet enveloped us, thick and suffocating. Get down! Sarah yelled, pulling me lower as if the shadows themselves would explode into violence. In that moment, everything shifted. It felt like the very world tilted, the weight of secrets and grim realities pressing us against the ground, and somewhere in the dark, a whisper threaded through the silence, "We've come for you." As my heart raced and fear settled deep in my gut, I realized we were far from safe. The storm wasn't just outside, it had entered our lives, and the price was yet to be revealed. What exactly were those secrets? And who? Were they, waiting just beyond the veil? The truth clawed at my insides. Could I ever handle it? And would we survive the storm that raged around us? I pressed my palms against the cool floor, breath hitching as I strained to listen in the thick silence. The familiar sounds of the storm felt distant now, like echoes of a life that no longer belonged to me. My heart thudded beneath my ribs, matching the urgent increase in Sarah's shallow breaths beside me. "Mom, they're here," she whispered urgently, her voice trembling. Panic tightened around my chest like a vice. Who? I barely managed to croak out. This wasn't like her. The girl who made mud pies and danced in the rain was replaced with a woman capable of unraveling the darkness surrounding Jonah's death. The chill of foreboding washed over me. "We can't stay here," Sarah insisted, tugging at my sleeve. "They'll track us. We have to move." I instinctively shook my head. Where could we possibly go? As if in answer, a sudden crash reverberated through the house, and the shadows danced menacingly in the flickering light of our dying emergency lantern. My nerves flared as the dim glow revealed the outline of a figure behind a nearby window, the wild storm casting distorted shapes of shadow on the wood. "Look!" Sarah hissed, her eyes wide with fear, body tense. "We can't let them see us." Panic surged up through me. I moved quickly, my limbs heavy with dread, pulling her deeper into the corridor that led to the back of the house. The air was thick with fear, wrapping around us like a shroud. Wait. Sarah suddenly froze, gripping my arm. Did you hear that? A rustle, then silence. My heart sank. It was easy to imagine whatever or whoever lingered outside our door was aware of our desperate flight. My instinct screamed at me to hide, but we had to know what we were dealing with. I need to see, I insisted, inching towards the front window. The wind screeched as rain stung at the glass. I flicked on the lantern, illuminating Sarah's pale face. Mom, don't. But it was too late. I was mesmerized by the chaos outside, caught between the cruel beauty of the lightning and the distance from our old lives. Suddenly, a shadowy figure appeared in the dim light, a tall silhouette cloaked in a dark coat, standing still amidst the howling storm. It surveyed the house, stooping low as if searching. Who is that? I whispered, my voice trembling with the weight of unanswered questions. I don't know. Sarah's voice was raw with panic now, the fear of the unknown sifting through us like sand. Little did she know, there was something almost familiar about the figure. A ghost from a terrifying memory I had tried to bury. Before I could react, another loud noise crashed through the darkness, this time, from the back of the house. A sound shattering glass followed by a loud stomp. He's inside. I gasped, terror flooding my veins. Get down. Sarah grabbed my arm, dragging me to the floor. The urgency in her voice pierced through my shock. We can't let them find us. As we crouched and huddled upon the cold floor, I felt dread pulling me tighter into its grasp. My heartbeat added tension to the fleeting silence, drowning out the sounds of the storm. Tell me about Jonah, I whispered, more to break the suffocating quiet than anything else. Tell me what you know. In the faint glow of the lantern, Sarah's eyes glistened, a storm brewing deep within them. The tremor in her voice returned, thick and emotional. Mom, before he died, Jonah found something. A file hidden. It linked them to everything. Linked who? But just then, the floor lifted beneath us as heavy footsteps stomped down the hall in our direction, filling every inch of space with dread. We don't have time. She gasped, pulling me toward the back door. We need to escape. Escape to where? She hesitated, a quick glance back toward the darkening hall, and I could see the blinds of her mind wrestling with the past. I know a place, we just have to get through the storm. Every instinct told me to follow. But as we reached the door, the footsteps grew louder. My chest tightened as I glanced over my shoulder, aware something terrible lurked just behind us. Would we ever make it out? Who could we trust? Go, now. Sarah cried, shoving the door open against the wind. The storm welcomed us brutally, and as we darted into the cold, I felt the promise of dread following in our wake. Would the truth emerge from the storm, or would it claim us too? With a gut-wrenching lurch, I realized we were far from free. The truth loomed, shrouded away, begging to be uncovered, but at what cost? What weight beyond the storm? The door slammed shut behind us, rattling in its frame as the wind howled like a wounded animal. Rain lashed against the sides of the house, masking any other sounds, but I felt every heartbeat like a drum in the silence of my mind. Mom, this way. Sarah shouted, taking the lead as we darted towards the tree line, the darkness swallowing us inch by inch. The familiar contours of our yard transformed into a jungle of shadows, and the chilling night air wrapped around my skin like icy fingers. Each step felt like a betrayal of our safety. My thoughts raced back to the figure at the window, cloaked in darkness, searching. Who were they? Were they part of the same shadows that had haunted Jonah? As adrenaline coursed through my veins, I caught Sarah's arm, stopping her just before we entered the thicket of trees. We need a plan. The urgency in my voice matched her wide eyes. Mom, there's no time for plans. She hissed, her voice trembling with fear. They know we're gone. We have to keep moving. But my instinct screamed at me to gather our wits. We can't run blindly into the woods. We might get lost. A flash of lightning illuminated the sky, momentarily revealing the path ahead. In that split-second clarity, I saw the outline of the silhouette again, this time, moving fast around the perimeter of the house, methodically searching. My heart dropped. They weren't just looking for us, they were seeking something more. "We need to find that file Jonah discovered," I urged, my mind racing back to Sarah's panicked revelations. "If it's true, it could hold the key to everything." "It could, and if we don't survive this?" Sarah's voice was barely above a whisper, driving a knife of reality into me. It was a sobering thought that sent ice packing into my chest. We dared not think of the alternatives. "Look." She pointed to an old shed near the edge of the yard, partially obscured by overgrown weeds. "If we can get to that shed, we can hold up until the storm passes." "Are you sure?" "What if it's not safe?" "No time, Mom." Without waiting for my response, Sarah darted toward the shed. I followed, my heart battling my nerves as I fought through branches that clawed at us. Each step felt like treason against the comforting walls of our home. As we reached the door, I glanced back to see the shadow moving closer now, its form more defined in the frail light of the storm. A quick gasp escaped my lips. "They're coming!" We fell into the shed, slamming the door behind us. Darkness swirled within. I fumbled for a lantern stored on a high shelf. The feeble beam flickered to life, casting eerie shadows across the disheveled room. "Mom," Sarah whispered, trembling as she scanned the cramped space. "It's so dark. What if they find us here?" "We'll figure it out," I promised, but doubt gnawed at my stomach. "Did Jonah say where he hid the file?" Sarah's brow furrowed. I think it was in the attic or somewhere up high," she stammered. "Up high, like this?" I said, peering around, searching for stairs or a way to reach higher ground. But just then, a loud crash boomed outside, the door to the shed rattled violently. The shadow loomed closer, a dark silhouette against the faint glow. "Stay quiet," I hissed, holding my breath as panic surged through me. Footsteps approached, steady, calculated, as if the figure knew exactly where to look. "Mom, they can't find us." Sarah clutched my arm. With every nerve in my body screaming to flee, I braced for the inevitable confrontation as the figure approached. What would they want with us? What dark secrets would finally come to light? And then there was a knock, sharp and deliberate, echoing in the dark. "I know you're in there. You can't hide." The voice was eerily calm, as if the figure relished the hunt. My throat went dry. What do we do? As the urgency built to a fever pitch, the shadows seemed to gather closer, and the tension mounted, thick as the storm outside. It was becoming clear that answers lived just beyond this darkness, but which one would find us first, the truth, or the figure seeking it? The door rattled again, harder this time. I pressed my back against the cold wood, my heart racing. Each thud rippled through me, a drumbeat of impending doom. Sarah's breath hitched beside me, her grip tightening around my arm as if it was the only thing anchoring her in this moment. "Mom, what if they're not just looking for us?" she whispered, the fear in her voice echoing in the confined space. I swallowed hard, processing her words, my mind racing. What if the figure wasn't seeking us at all? What if they're looking for Jonah's file? I asked, the realization crashing down like the torrential rain outside. What if they want to silence the truth? The thought sent shivers down my spine. The file held dark secrets, ticking time bombs waiting to be detonated. It was our only chance to make sense of everything. But it also made us targets. "There's an old trunk in here," I said, turning my attention to the cluttered shed. "Maybe it's worth checking." I hurried towards the back, the flickering lantern casting long shadows as I moved among rusty tools and wilted memories. Every creak felt exaggerated in the silence. Just as I reached the trunk, the knocking returned, more insistent now, as if the figure could sense my urgency. "I'm going to open it." I turned back to Sarah, ready to take a risk. "Stay close." With shaking hands, I raised the lid, the rusted hinges protesting with a groan. Inside, a jumble of old papers, clothes, and memories swirled around. My pulse quickened as I rifled through the contents, searching for anything that could guide us. "Mom, hurry!" Sarah hissed, her voice laced with panic. I threw aside aging clothes, desperate to find the file. The storm raged on outside, the wind shrieking like a banshee, blending with the overwhelming pounding on our door. Then, I spotted a faded envelope marked with Jonah's handwriting. "Here!" I exclaimed, pulling it free and shoving the rest aside. "Read it," Sarah urged, her eyes wide with fear and anticipation. I tore open the envelope, my fingers trembling. Inside, the pages held what seemed like a jumbled account of events, accompanied by photographs that made my stomach churn. I flipped through the pages quickly, every line deepening the sense of dread. Suddenly, a crash split the air, and splinters flew as the door burst open, revealing the figure now illuminated by the storm's flash. My breath caught in my throat. "Looking for this?" they said, their voice smooth, like silk wrapped around barbed wire. In their hand, the familiar shape of a file glinted under the weak light. "Get away from us!" I shouted, stepping protectively in front of Sarah. The figure's eyes glinted with malice. "You think you can escape the truth? You've stumbled into something far more dangerous than you realize." Sarah's hand tightened in mine, and I could feel her heart thumping like a hummingbird's. "We know what you're after," she yelled, surprising me with her sudden burst of bravery. The figure tilted their head, considering her words, a slow smile creeping across their face. "You have no idea what's truly at stake here." My pulse raced. This was turning into something I never anticipated. "What do you want?" I demanded, my voice steadier than I felt. The stranger stepped forward, and the shadows twisted around them. "Just a little honesty." They drew closer, a dangerous glint in their eye, the promise of more than just confrontation. Before I could react, the figure lunged, and everything exploded into chaos. In the tumult, I clutched the envelope tighter, feeling the weight of hidden truths threatening to consume us all. The last slippery pieces of the puzzle fluttered somewhere between us. Would we unlock a terrifying secret, or would it drag us further into darkness with it? The darkness closed in, and as the lantern flickered, I realized there were worse things than shadows lurking on a stormy night. What horrors awaited us in the light of day? The shadows promised one thing: we were just getting started. The figure lunged, and I felt a surge of adrenaline pulse through me, igniting my instincts. I pushed Sarah behind me, bracing for a collision that would shatter everything. The lantern flickered, casting eerie shapes in the dim light as the figure crashed into me. We tumbled, a tangle of limbs and desperation. I could hear Sarah's muffled screams as my focus zeroed in on the threat before me. My hands gripped the figure's wrist, trying to wrest the file away, but they were strong, more powerful than any ordinary person should be. "Let go," I gasped, their eyes boring into mine with a chilling resolve. The taunting smile faded, replaced by pure fury. Just then, the storm outside roared, slashing rain against the shed's walls like the fury of nature itself. It was as if the world outside was as chaotic as the fight inside. I heard a loud crash from above, and debris began to fall around us, littering the ground with splinters. The danger from outside mingled with our struggle. Both could consume us completely. With a sudden surge of energy, I kicked the figure's shin, causing them to stumble back slightly, enough for me to break free and scramble to my feet. My heart beat wildly, each thump a reminder of how fleeting life could be in moments like this. I reached for Sarah, pulling her close while glaring at the figure. "Get out," I shouted, my voice steadier than I felt. "You don't have to do this." The figure laughed, a cold sound that sent chills down my spine. "You think this is about me? This is bigger than you, bigger than Jonah. You're in way over your heads." I felt Sarah trembling beside me, and I squeezed her hand tighter, feeling the flesh and bone beneath my fingertips, anchoring myself to the moment. "We'll never stop fighting for the truth, not for Jonah, and certainly not for us." As the figure lunged again, I ducked low, adrenaline propelling me forward. I snatched up the rusty wrench from the floor, swinging it toward them with all my strength. The impact clanged loudly, connecting with their arm, and a sharp gasp escaped their lips. "Now, tell me who you are." I demanded, breathing heavily as I squared my shoulders, ready for another fight. The figure staggered, clutching their arm, anger spilling from their eyes as they assessed the situation. You don't understand what you're dealing with. You can't just uncover the past and think it will let you go. I took a measured step back, the weight of their words sinking in. What do you mean? In that moment, the storm outside reached its peak fury, wind howling and rain battering against the shed like a relentless army. The atmosphere crackled with tension, intensified by the chaos around us. The figure hesitated, their bravado flickering, then, swiftly, they reached into their pocket and revealed something that gleamed in the dim light, a small but dangerous-looking device, with wires dangling like the fingers of a specter. Your truth is a lie, they said, their voice a deadly whisper. And now, time is running out. My world tipped dangerously as I processed their words. I could barely breathe as I realized they intended to detonate something. Run! I shouted to Sarah, pushing her toward the far end of the shed. But even as I moved, my heart clenched. There was no chance we could escape this. Questions raced through my mind. What did this figure know? What truth had Jonah unearthed that now threatened our lives? Just as dread settled in my bones, I felt the ground tremble beneath us. Everything hinged on a knife's edge, and we were at the very brink. But before I could react, the device sparked, sending a blinding light through the shed, illuminating our terrified shadows. And then blackness. Where would we wake in this murky chaos? What truths would be revealed when we resurfaced? The world slowly returned, but it wasn't the same. My eyelids flickered open, and I squinted against an intense brightness that wrapped around me like a suffocating shroud. Shadows bobbed in and out of view, warped shapes swirling in a haze. Sarah! I gasped, pushing myself up, but my head swam. I fell back, blinking hard, desperately trying to focus. Panic surged within me as I remembered the last fleeting moment's darkness, the figure, the bomb. The shed was quiet, too quiet. A low groan reverberated through the wooden beams as the winds outside continued to howl, almost as if nature itself mourned the uncertainty left in its wake. Where are we? I croaked, my throat dry and scratchy. Over here. A familiar voice floated through the dimness, shaky yet resolute. I turned my head, squinting. Sarah sat curled against the wall, her face pale and ashen. Are you okay? I rushed toward her, feeling every bone in my body protest as I moved. I grasped her shoulders, relief washing over me. She was alive. But then dread crawled back. What about the figure? Did we escape? Sarah nodded slowly, her eyes wide, reflecting confusion and fear. I think so. But I don't understand what happened. I glanced around the remnants of the shed. Crushed beams and shattered lanterns scattered about, remnants of the storm's rage. But there was something else. An eerie silence enveloped the space, broken only by our breathing. What did they mean? Time is running out. A chill crept through me. The fear that had settled in my gut now took root. I didn't want to dwell on the device, the idea of what it could do terrified me. As if she could sense my thoughts, Sarah said, we need to find a way out. We can't just stay here. She began to push against the debris, frustration etched on her face. I helped her, shoving aside broken wood and deciphering the new landscape of our disaster. My heart raced, each loud creak echoing ominously, making me hyper-aware of our precarious situation. As daylight began to filter through a hole in the shed ceiling, I felt a spark of hope. We'll get out of here, I assured her, though doubt gnawed at me. But then I froze, peering out toward the gaping hole. Outside stood a figure, their silhouette striking against the stormy sky. My heart plummeted as I recognized them, not the exploding figure but Jonah, alive. Jonah? I called, my voice barely breaking through the wind. Confusion flickered across his face. But his expression shifted as he moved closer, and the shadow of dread washed back over my hopes. His eyes told me everything before he spoke. The terror of revelation seeped into every word. You need to come with me. It's not safe, he urged, urgency threading through his voice. What do you mean unsafe? I asked, panic rising. What's happening? Everything you think you know is about to change, he replied, desperation tightening his grip on reality. I thought I could keep you safe, but they're coming. Who? Sarah's voice trembled, echoing my own fear. Jonah glanced over his shoulder, worry darkening his features. The people after the truth, the ones you just encountered. They're more powerful than you realize. We're running out of time. A loud crash reverberated through the remnants of the shed, splintering the wood beneath us as the roof creaked dangerously overhead. I looked at Sarah, my heart pounding. Then we have to go now, I yelled, adrenaline fueling my every move. As we stumbled toward Jonah, ready to follow him out of the shed and into whatever awaited us, I couldn't shake the feeling that the truth was closer than ever. And maybe, just maybe, it would lead us all to disaster, but then again, wouldn't we always be running from something? The moment we stepped outside, fate took another turn. This was only the beginning. What would the chase reveal next? The moment we plunged into the storm's embrace, the air crackled with an invisible tension. Jonah urged us onward, his grip firm, pulling us from the wreckage of our past into an uncertain future. Where are we going? I gasped, a paralyzing anxiety grinding against my chest. The old warehouse, Jonah replied, urgency blurring his words. It's where we regroup, where we plan. They can't trace us there. Just keep moving. Wind whipped around us, howling like a restless spirit. I could barely see through the fog and rain, but I could feel the pounding of my heart echo against the chaos. Sarah stumbled beside me, her breath quick and shallow. They? Who are we running from? Those who want to keep the truth hidden. Jonah breathed heavily, glancing over his shoulder. We're not just running, we're fighting for answers. Suddenly, a piercing noise cut through the storm. A low-frequency growl that made the hairs on my arms stand up. I stopped, my instinct screaming at me to retreat, but Jonah pulled me forward. They're closing in, he hissed. Move. Adrenaline surged as we dashed across the field, the ground beneath us slick and treacherous. Every instinct screamed to look back, but fear pushed me onward. Then I heard a distant rumbling, like thunder but distinct, engines. My heart raced as the sound grew louder, echoing through the darkened landscape. They know, Jonah panted. We need to get to the warehouse now. A sudden flash lit the sky, illuminating our path for a brief second, and I caught a glimpse of a black SUV parked at the edge of the tree line. My stomach twisted, my mind flashed to images of the masked figure, the chilling presence that haunted my memories. The car. They're here. I shouted, panic overtaking me. What do we do? Jonah's eyes darted, a flicker of panic creeping through him. We can't let them see us. Stay low. I nodded, heart hammering against my chest as we crouched under the bending branches, trying to blend into the darkness. Do you see them? Sarah whispered, her voice trembling with fear. I don't know, Jonah replied, squinting into the shadows. But we have to move before they sniff us out. Moments stretched into agonizing silence, and just when I thought I'd scream from the tension, the rumble of the SUV engines died. I held my breath, every second layered with dread, as figures spilled out. They moved like predators, and my skin crawled as I recognized the leader, a tall man with an unsettling presence. He scanned the area, his eyes cold and calculating. They must be here somewhere, he said flatly. Keep searching, another voice answered, muffled but harsh. We can't leave without them. Jonah's breath caught, and I could feel the panic radiating off him in waves. We need to go, now. As we moved cautiously, each step heavy with the weight of our reality, my thoughts spiraled. Who were these people? What did they want? And more importantly, what did they know about us? We didn't look back but instead made our way toward the warehouse entrance, shadows swallowing us whole. The door creaked ominously as Jonah pushed it open, ushering us into the dimly lit interior. We stood there, hearts pounding, left with a snapshot of a single moment, the chaos outside, the danger just behind us, but not yet within our reach. Would this place hold the answers? Or was it a trap that could seal our fate? Then I noticed something, a stack of files on the rickety table in the corner, papers spilling out like secrets begging to be uncovered. Over there. I pointed, urgency swelling within me. What's in those? We can't waste time, Jonah warned, but my mind whirled with questions. What if it's the key? Before he could respond, a loud bang echoed through the warehouse, the unmistakable sound of a gunshot. Panic surged as we froze. What had we stumbled into? Jonah, we need to make a choice. He looked from the files to the door, determination flaring in his eyes. Then let us find out what our next move is, but we have to be ready for anything. The weight of the unknown hung heavy, leaving me caught between the allure of the files and the danger lurking just outside. What secrets would we uncover? And would it cost us everything? Fate was tightening around us like a noose, ready to pull at any moment. The air in the warehouse thickened with tension. Jonah's gaze darted back to the door, his fists clenched. A second gunshot rang out, echoing off the rusting metal walls, sending shivers down my spine. Do we check the files or run? I whispered, barely able to hold back my panic. Jonah hesitated, the flickering light casting shadows across his face. We need to know what they're hiding. It could be the difference between life and death. Sarah's eyes wide with fear, she stepped closer to me. But what if we can't get out in time? There's no time to waste, Jonah insisted, moving toward the table, his hands tightening around the edges. He started going through the papers, breath quickening as he flipped the pages. The noise from outside rose in crescendo shouts, heavy footsteps, the unmistakable sounds of my worst nightmares. They were close. Here. Jonah exclaimed, pulling out one document, I scanning the words frantically. This is about us, our families. What? I leaned closer, trying to make sense of the hurried scrawl. What does it say? They've been monitoring us. Gathering information for years. It seems like we were never alone in this fight. His voice trailed off, a new fear creeping into his expression. I felt a chill creep up my spine. What kind of information? Just then, the door rattled, the jarring sound puncturing our moment of hope like a dagger. A sliver of moonlight illuminated the anxious faces of armed men. They were searching for us with relentless determination, like wolves hunting for their prey. Get down. Jonah urged, pulling Sarah and me behind the table, heart pounding against his chest. We huddled together, breaths mingling in the dark, despair setting in like an unwelcome fog. Before I could gather my thoughts, Jonah's voice was harsh and low. We have to create a diversion. A diversion? My voice shook. Are you crazy? We're cornered. Trust me, he said firmly. I'll create a distraction. You two grab the files and find a back exit. No. You can't just do it. He pressed a folded paper into my hands. This is important. Don't let it fall into their hands. My heart thumped wildly as Jonah edged toward the door, his figure disappearing into the shadows. Jonah. I wanted to scream, but I knew I had to be quiet. I glanced towards Sarah, her eyes wide with regret and fear, both of us caught in a decision not of our making. The sound of boots pounded closer. My hands trembled as I held the files, every paper a reminder of what we had to lose. One single gunshot could change everything for us. A loud crash came from the entrance, followed by Jonah's urgent shout. Now. In an instant, Sarah and I dove for the table, gathering what we could. Each paper was like a time bomb, filled with the secrets that could undo us. I grabbed the file marked in bold red Project Aegis, my gut twisting at the implications. Let us go. I urged, nudging Sarah toward a rusted door at the back of the warehouse. My heart pounded like a war drum, time slipping through my fingers as we pushed through the door. As we stumbled out into the night, breathless and panicked, a shadow crossed my vision. There was Jonah on the ground, struggling with a figure, a flash of silver gleaming an instant before another gunshot rang out. Jonah! I yelled, but terror froze me in my tracks. Would I be too late to save him? Would he sacrifice everything for us? We had just taken the first step into freedom or a trap. The exhilarating rush of the chase surged in my veins, propelling my feet forward even as despair weighed me down. Would we stand a chance against the darkness, or would it swallow us whole? Ahead loomed the forest, thick and unyielding, but it was our only escape. Run! I shouted to Sarah as another gunshot echoed behind us, a chilling reminder that they would not let us slip through their fingers lightly. But with every step into the abyss, a question loomed larger than the danger: were we running toward a salvation or straight into our doom? The ground was uneven, roots and stones threatening to trip us as we darted into the dark embrace of the forest. The rain pelted down, washing away the remnants of the storm but leaving fear to cling to us like a second skin. "Keep going!" Jonah shouted, his voice snapping into focus amidst the chaos. I glanced back once, catching a glimpse of that shadow, the figure, still hunting, relentless in their pursuit. The sight filled me with a fierce energy. They wouldn't take us without a fight. Not after everything. "Mom." Sarah's voice pulled me forward, breathless and full of urgency. She tugged my arm, a lifeline in the madness. "We can't stop now." As we weaved between trees, branches clawed at us, and the darkness wrapped around like a heavy cloak. I clutched the file tightly against my chest, the weight of its secrets mingling with the very essence of our survival. "Do you think Jonah is okay?" I asked, fear cracking my voice. "He has to be," Sarah replied, her determination shining through even in the face of dread. "He won't let them take him." The forest swallowed our words as we ran deeper into its maw, but I couldn't shake the feeling that fate twisted around us, tightening with every passing second. Would we really escape? And if we did, what truths would we have to face? Suddenly, Jonah burst through the trees ahead, breathless and wild-eyed. "This way!" he cried, gesturing toward a narrow trail etched into the underbrush. Hope surged within me. "You made it!" I started toward him, but then I heard the sound of footsteps, heavy and determined, echoing through the trees behind us. "Go!" Jonah shouted, urgency compelling us forward. I felt dread pooling low in my stomach, knowing we were fleeing not just from shadows, but from secrets tied to Jonah's very existence. The path narrowed, and I stumbled, my foot catching on uneven ground. Jonah's eyes widened, a mix of fear and resolve. "Mom!" he yelled, lunging back to help steady me. The urgency was palpable, time slipping away as the sounds of pursuit grew closer. "We can't stop." "I know. I want." I gasped, pushing myself up, fury igniting my drive. We rushed onward together through the dense undergrowth, shadows flickering around us like ethereal spirits, and then, without warning, everything changed. The trees parted to reveal a clearing bathed in eerie light, the moon piercing through the clouds. In the center stood a crumbling building, a forgotten relic of the past. "That's it!" Jonah exclaimed, pointing wildly. "We can regroup inside and figure out what to do next." My heart dropped. What if they find us? A chill raced down my spine as I thought of the figure chasing us. "We'll get answers." Jonah turned to Sarah, determination blazing in his eyes. "Stay close. There's no room for fear. We're in this together." We sprinted toward the building, the air thick with tension as we crossed the threshold, stepping into the unknown. The inside was decayed, old papers strewn about like the remnants of forgotten dreams. "We can't let them catch us in here," I whispered, my heart thumping loudly in my ears. Around us, the walls of the building creaked, shadows shifting with each gust of wind that rattled the broken windows. "Jonah, what's in that file?" I demanded, desperate for clarity. "What do we need to know?" He pulled it from my grasp, turning to face us. "It's all here, secrets about Project Aegis. It's about a cover-up, something huge tied to our family. They've been watching us for years, waiting for the right moment to act." The implication sent shockwaves through me, an unsettling resonance of dread signaling that we were aiming to unravel something far bigger than we imagined. "What if they know we have this?" Sarah gasped, scanning the dark corners. "What if it's a trap? Then we make our stand." Jonah's voice trembled slightly, a stark reminder that he felt it too. "We can't run forever. We need to expose them, destroy what they've built around us." Just as hope and fear collided in a swirling vortex of emotion, I caught movement through the cracked windows, the dark figures standing outside, their outlines blending with the shadows of the night. "They're here," I stammered. "We have to hide." "No." Jonah's voice rang with intensity. "No more running. We face them here together. We're stronger than they think." My heart swelled with pride. This wasn't he, the boy I had lost, this was a man fighting for the truth. As the figures moved closer, an air of determination flowed through me. The building held its breath, and the three of us stood united, resolved to uncover the truth behind the lies, a secret powerful enough to shake our foundations. The door creaked open, light spilling in like a monster slithering between us, and there they stood, shapes emerging from the shadows, faces I recognized from those haunting memories of fear and betrayal. "Looking for something?" The leader smirked, stepping inside. I felt a rush of anger bubble up. "We won't let you destroy our lives," Jonah shouted from beside me. The tension felt electric crackling in the air. "It's not just your life at stake, Jonah," the leader replied, voice smooth and condescending. "You're playing a game far beyond your understanding." At that moment, realization crystallized. The shadows weren't just after Jonah, they were after all of us. And just like that, a new kind of battle waged within me. "No more running," I whispered, boiling with righteous fury. "Time for the truth." We were no longer seeking answers, we were ready to fight for our lives, ready to expose the darkness looming over us. The storm had only just begun. As our eyes locked with the shadows before us, the weight of destiny hung heavily in the air. A reckoning awaited us. Would we emerge into the light, or would the truth devour us whole? Yet, beneath the tension and raw fear, there lay a flicker of hope. At last, we were together, and there was strength in that. The first steps toward liberation echoed through my heart. Here we stood as the storm continued to roar outside, fearless, determined, and ready. We were not just survivors, we were a force rising beyond the storm. Now it was time to rewrite our story, and we would not back down. Subscribe now if you want to be part of our journey, scream with us, and uncover the next secrets waiting just around the corner. Smash that like button if you're feeling the adrenaline with us. Flood the comments with your reactions. How do you think this battle ends? Don't wait even one more second to share this with friends who need to join our fight. You need to be part of this, and your support means everything. Join the movement.